Another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we've got a fun episode, a very entertaining episode at that today, as we look to talk about what's happening when it comes to advertising, media, and the future of entertainment. So much has changed in 2020, but as we looked ahead, not just to 2021, but the decade in front of us, how will these three areas change? How will they look differently as we are consuming more in different ways than we ever have? And also, how has the advertising model adjusted or changed to these new areas of entertainment as we look to how we're consuming streaming, to from media to audio, to even potentially going from theaters to in our home being the theaters, and so much more, including esports and all kinds of stuff we're going to be talking about and unpacking today. And we've brought on some of the best and the brightest from the investment world, along with industry experts, to share with us how things have changed and where things are going as well. And with that, audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, click subscribe. Do reach out as well if you'd like to be on a show like today. As an investor, we'd love to have you. And as an entrepreneur, we have less than 90 days left in this quarter. If you're not already out there fundraising, you're not already out there building relationships, you want to meet great investors who are investing in your category, reach out to the team and myself. We'll find you the right virtual stage here at VCTV to get up and pitch us as investors, to get real-time feedback, to start building those relationships, and also get in front of our live audience as well. So do reach out. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. As your host, Kyle Ellicott, I do want to come around to each of our investors today. Make sure you get a chance to learn a little bit more about why they're here and who they are, what they've done to make it here to talk about these three areas. Again, advertising, media, and entertainment. Jose, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background for everyone, please.
Thank you, Kyle. So my name is Jose Graza. I'm a serial entrepreneur for more or less like 40 years now. I've been a business angel for around 26 years. I was a chairman of a business angels club in Europe. I also was a VC more or less during 3 years of my career. The fact is, and the reason why I'm here on this presentation today, is that my career started in TV. Although I have a finance and tech background, but I was working at Dutch TV for some time when I was studying, and that's how I started initially, quite a long time ago. And I'm here to say that I'm always on the lookout for new technologies, new things, especially which is in the area which I say fintech impact area. But that's also today, fintech is not only finance. You can also look a little bit further and you can see that it also has touching things with advertising and e-commerce, because all this, needs transactions. So thank you, Kyle.
Absolutely. Well, not even just transactions. I mean, fintech plays a whole role in all of this, and even going further, throwing out one of my favorite subjects, blockchain. Blockchain plays a huge foundational role as a technology, and two of the three of these, entertainment we'll get to in a minute when it comes to the future of gaming, but absolutely, fintech plays a very foundational role, and we'll come back to that. Jose, welcome. Mark, welcome back to the show, my friend. You've got a ton of things you're working on, so feel free to name drop because there's so many great projects, but a little intro, a little background for everybody.
Good to see you, Kyle. Always a bright guy. I don't know how you do this every day, but I want to do it every day. My background, the reason why I'm on this show is when Maria reached out to me, I said, "Hey, I like this. It's kind of who I am." I started out, I moved from New York to Miami, University of Miami, was doing, having more fun than studying out there. And I realized, hey, there's more money and that I could already make more money producing parties on campus and off campus. So I started doing small parties around Miami, and it became a concert business. I started doing concerts, and I've had Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown come to my concerts, Wyclef, everybody. I paid DJ Khaled $400 for an entire day in 1998. It was Miami Hip Hop Fest. I have to pay him $400 now to just take a 1 minute phone call now, right? And I realized when I sat down with my small team at that time, we were spending most of our money on FedEx. There was no Twitter, no LinkedIn. I had to send a FedEx to introduce myself. I had to send a FedEx to say thank you. I had to send the FedEx to say, hey, could you meet with me? It was, I mean, what right now I tell my oldest son, you should be a millionaire already. You have Twitter, LinkedIn, you can call this guy your friend. You never met him before. I was spending $3,000 on cell phone a month. I was spending like $10,000 on FedEx. That was my budget. But the one thing that I noticed that once we got to event time, and I know I'm going long. Once we got to event time, we were spending a lot of money on advertising. So I bought an advertising company. I started mobile billboard trucks advertising my events. When we weren't doing events, I was advertising for .coms. It was 2000. Well, a little before 2000 doing the old .com thing. So, I mean, I just kept moving. And then, January 2000 came, we lost all our money. And then, I just kept on staying in entertainment and advertising because they work together. You can't create a spectacular thing, whether it's a TV show, Tony. There's always advertising is going to be a part of that. So
absolutely,
that's a little bit. So I'm always focused on sports, entertainment, and music, always, and television, of course.
Well, and all connect well together, right? They all are dependent on each other.
Work together. It's one ecosystem, man.
Absolutely. We've seen so much change in 2020 that I think a little bit of it, again, we're going to come to it, but just setting the stage is a little bit of it was already in talks, right? There was already a little bit of the bubbling of the surface of how things were needing to change. And we saw that bubble burst and we started to see how things will be changed potentially for the future. But Gary, to you, the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence, the one and only who knows everything about this industry, all jokes aside, but truly, I know you spent a lot of time in it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little background.
Yeah, so actually, I've done 16 companies now, 2 unicorns, and I actually did a little bit of the entertainment myself. I was living in Moscow and I went to the top conservatory and I actually put together a group and produced some concerts. It was really fun. It was fun first, and then it turned into a real business. And by doing that, then I started to get other Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian entertainers. And I just did it for fun, but I enjoyed it. Now, today, I'm really looking at technologies that enable. So 5G. So if we're going to be looking at things on our mobile devices, how do we make those things incredibly faster? How do we incorporate AR, VR, XR into make that physical experience that really isn't there real? So I'm really interested in those kind of technologies and where that's gone. And, like Mark, I believe, marketing and advertising are really the heart of it, and getting the message out, the word out, which has changed. And we've really leveled the playing field with this digital transformation. And having all these folks online all the time, think about how much opportunity there is today. It's unprecedented compared to, a year ago. So I really love it. And the opportunities to use some of these enabling technologies is incredible.
Absolutely. And just looking at these 3 industries, again, advertising, media, and entertainment, and how those technologies are going to play a role, to your point, the sky's the limit. As Mark said, everyone should be millionaires. But we'll come back to that. Tony, last but not least, welcome to VCTV for the first time. It's a pleasure to have you. A little intro, a little background. Make sure you unmute and talk away.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I'm here because I've been labeled insatiably curious. And I think this harkens back to when I was 4 years old and the kids used to get off the bus and I would go interview every one of them and ask them what they learned. And I became that annoying little kid at the end of the street. But long story short, when I was a small kid in the high chair, my parents didn't have a whole lot of money. My dad just got out of the Navy. I was apparently a very messy eater living in Seattle, and my mom didn't want to waste money on paper towels, so they put the newspaper under me every single day. So 4 to 5 times a day for 2 years, had the newspaper under me until I was 3, got out of the high chair. I could read by the time I was 3. So I tell you that because luckily my dad threw the sports page in there once in a while, some numbers became, and it was great. But that's my whole life has been ingesting information. So that's how I became, a journalist. I wrote, I edited, I produced, I shot all kinds of news and sports, trying to work my way up. My goal is to be in New York on a show by the time I was 30, blessed enough to be on a show called Good Day New York, which was #1 at the time in New York City with a bunch of people who were much better than me live. But my forte has always been live television with no script, but also behind the scenes producing and creating and matching I guess maybe one of the only skills I have other than being able to go live with no script is I can kind of see around corners and see where things are going in media, or what connects and what doesn't connect. And I guess that comes from my producing background of seeing 3 and 4 steps ahead and knowing where you need to get to and how to get there. So that ended up I went to the dark side of journalism and signed on with Access Hollywood in 1999. Had a great run of 12 years to 2011. Went around the world, saw amazing people doing amazing things in amazing locations, which was incredible. And I loved that, really fostered my creativity. And being in the big studio system, but then I bought a bunch of real estate in Playa Vista in the downturn. Playa Vista then became Silicon Beach. It wasn't there at the time. But just by virtue of in the mornings getting up from my new place and bumping into people at the coffee shop, and my wife's a global entrepreneur, an Indian entrepreneur. She's been, since she started her first company when she was 16. So in that environment, I'd bump into people talking about their startup, talking about this, that, and the other thing. And I quickly realized that what I thought was a narrow skill set of grabbing the attention of millions every single day and messaging in 5 and 8 and 12-second spurts was a very narrow skill set. I realized that actually could be applied, I thought, to startups and being able early stage. So one day I just happened to hear 2 girls and a guy talking in the corner. They couldn't figure out their mission statement or their tagline for their new startup. It was driving me crazy because I have an IFB in my ear all my life on television. So when it's out, I can hear this conversation here. So I went over and said, look, do you have a pen? Give me a pen. I wrote down the tagline. I wrote down the mission statement. They're like, dude, that's awesome. And I had to catch a plane. So I said, look, here's my number. So I wanted to immerse myself at night into what was Silicon Beach at the time, just starting to be Silicon Beach. Because I had one foot in the studio world, where at Universal and NBC and with Moonves at CBS and Jeff Zucker and those guys, and they were scared shitless at that time of what the hell was happening, 2009, 10, and 11, right, with digital. But I'm with these guys at night, so I ended up starting. This is about the crossover part. I started a small venture capital fund called Sierra Maya 360, bridging Hollywood, technology, sports, and esports back in 2013. We were trying to sell the esports notion, but I saw where I knew enough athletes that wanted to be rock stars that wanted to be actors, but they were also coalescing into starting to look for investments. So I thought there was a way I can have a foot in both worlds and bring people together, get the executives out of the way to a certain extent, get the creatives in Hollywood talking to these incredible people on the west side of LA in the tech world. So I built that, and then from there I built spun and built out a studio in Amsterdam for a company called MTG. And then from there went and built a First International Films, a film company in Budapest as well. And then now so my producing partner and I built other companies for other people that have sold really well. And we finally realized maybe we should build our own company so we can sell it. So we just launched The Content Artist, soft launched it during the pandemic. And I'll get into that, but it's been a real adventure and a pivot into various forms of advertising and digital as well. So a little bit about
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, guys, all welcome to the show. This is going to be perfect. Let's just jump right in. I mean, where are things today and how are things changing looking ahead to the next year? Jose, let's come to you. Focusing a little bit on the fintech side, but also on the bigger, broader picture. Where are you seeing advertising, media, and or entertainment today, and how do you see things changing in the coming future?
So I think advertising has been undergoing quite a big change. If you look at in the past, it was basically like outdoors, radio, and TV. And the measurement of that advertising was really bad. You could not figure out really what was going on, how you were targeting. You had some rough ideas. And essentially your measurement would come out of your revenues more or less. And it would take some time. Now, what I've seen today, let's say in the last couple of years, there's been a big movement, especially into the digital world. And it started with, let's say, these search engine advertisement, and eventually it went to other areas. You can now also see posts in social media. And I think, for example, that video advertising is coming in now, definitely. YouTube is something that is fairly underestimated, its potential. It has much more to give. And also with this COVID issue that everybody is staying at home, and you get these shows, on the road, online, people are interacting. So a lot of stuff we will see in that direction, that during those shows, also during, let's say, these interactions. You can have interactive advertising, and you can, with AI, you can even feel what the reaction is almost in real time. Okay, and that's why I see it going. Okay, for me it's quite exciting because I've been working on this huge project that I have, which has a bunch of that type of advertising inside, which is not the main income stream, but it's still like 30% of our revenue income. And there are some very exciting technologies. And one last thing, I remember a gentleman, more or less like 5 or 6 years ago, and I don't know if you remember that the first phones, you had these funny GIFs, animated GIFs coming out, right? And people would buy and click on it. It was a huge success, okay? And then it's basically, dropped off, right? So those things, like I would say the kitties and whatever it is, will come back also. So we will see very nice things in that area.
I love it. And the teasing of artificial intelligence leads me right to the man who knows it all, Gary Fowler. Where are you seeing things today from these three areas, and particularly from the artificial intelligence intersection, but then also in general, where these areas are going?
Well, like I said, I mean, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Look how many eyeballs you have every day that are sitting in a captive audience. So, I mean, this is like a dream, the dream of dreams. So from that standpoint, I love it. I mean, I actually invested in one company called BidEase, and BidEase is a company that it's basically to verify, it's a DSP to verify having the right ad at the right place at the right time. There's a lot of falsehoods around advertising. Oh, we really had these clicks and, fake likes and all that. We've been able to solve that. And I've seen our business on that side, just with one company, has gone in the last 3 years from zero to about $20 million. So it's using that artificial intelligence to be able to forecast where there are fakes, how to advertise at the right place at the right time with the right product. I mean, those are the kind of things that are really happening. And Kyle, as we've talked about before, it's literally across the board. I mean, look at these emerging technologies. Now, Apple just announced their 5G Apple 12 phones. This is going to change things. Think about the speed. I mean, the throughput is, like or better than what we have in our houses today. I mean, it's going to change things. We can now not only get the information, but send it out faster than ever. So all these big files, issues that we've had before, it's changing. It's going to change over the next year, dramatically shift over the next year. So the pandemic's created an opportunity for the eyeballs. Look at Netflix, right? And how Netflix has exploded in terms of growth. Literally everything, right? Internet usage is way up because you and I are online all the time, right? And we're looking for things that are different. So one is the internet usage is up, eyeballs on. Two is emerging technologies, 5G in particular is going to really radically shift things. And so what I'm looking at is then how AR, VR, XR, all those type of technologies can be used to be able to, one, imagine being able to have one of the technologies I recently reviewed actually can put objects inside of a YouTube video. So you can actually do product placements by sticking an object inside there, right? Oh, by the way, you want Cheerios? It's in the back. Oh, there's Cheerios in the back. And this stuff is incredible, right?
Yeah, I was saying we've seen teases of this, right? And some of this is the beginning of change in user behavior. I mean, look at on just that note, look at how Instagram went from post your pictures to, oh, by the way, corporates can now use your pictures. Oh, by the way, because of those two things, we're now going to serve you ads, which you don't know, but you do know because you've been served the chance to buy 1,500 different pairs of sweatpants from just viewing one page of sweatpants. I mean, that is there. And now on the video side, look at what Alibaba did on Singles Day, November 11th, for those who may not be aware of it. It's the biggest shopping day globally, by the way, billions and billions of dollars, more than Black Friday here in the United States. Alibaba did a fashion show during Singles Day where you could see things coming up and down the runway and buy them in real time on live video. And then you throw AR/VR, as Tony's doing it. you've got a whole new experience, to your point, and then throw
It's
the
like
data behind
QVC
it.
on steroids, you know, QVC on steroids.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
agree. I mean, the situation is, but here's the deal. The deal is the hyper personalization. What happens is
Yes.
having the right product, seeing yourself. So if we take that exact runway, imagine having a dress and being able to say, oh, you know, we're in a fashion show. Let's see what it looks like on you. How does that change the experience?
Yep.
Yes. Well, and that personalization is a big key component. So all three of these areas. So entertainment, I want personalized entertainment to some degree, right? So maybe when
Yeah.
it comes to watching a sporting event, I want a certain angle or a certain set of angles or a certain team automatically served to me, right? When it comes to advertisements, send me ads that you know I'm going to buy from or have a higher likelihood. Now that's we're starting to see. And then media is a whole nother, and we're starting to see that as well. And looking at Twitter, and how the feeds along with LinkedIn have changed due to AI being a big portion of leveraging the data of how we interact. It's all changing. And with that, Mark, I want to come to you. I mean, your example of DJ Khaled, by the way, is still mind blowing to me. But anyways, I'll skip ahead from that. I mean, you started in this industry in the late 90s, pardon me, started again in the early 2000s. And here you are heading into this next decade. How are you seeing all three of these really kind of change?
Me, I'm not, and I think a couple of shows ago I told Gary I'm not a trend guy, because I got kicked out of an office, and ABC, Walt Disney, and ESPN executives in New York kicked me out of their office because I was selling them MMA in 2005. And they told me that's way too great. Blood all over the place. What do you mean? Get out of here. And, I spoke with the ESPN guy who was a good friend of mine. We were ESPN Deportes, Lino Garcia. And he told me, Mark, you know what your problem is? You're going to bleed to death. And I said, why? He said, because you're always on the cutting edge of stuff. And I've always been on the cutting edge of stuff. And to talk about everything that we just spoke about, I got kicked out of offices in Barcelona in 2015, out of Piqué's office. He welcomed me back in. He had a gaming company called Karad Games back at the time. And I went in there with this idea called Baller's Life, which was a virtual reality game where you get to be a baller and you work up to baller status. Not only that, we were building virtual Vegases, virtual Mucal, virtual Beverly Hills. So you'll be able to go in, make money, and then go shop with VR and buy things on Rodeo Drive, or then you can go zoom over to Las Vegas and buy at the Coach store or the Gucci store or whatever and be a baller in the game. And then every week was a leader. And he said, Mark, this will never work. And I said, it will work. And we're going to that now, man. I know Tony's going to know it, and Jose's going to know it. Gary's he's there now. He's the guy that I needed in 2015, but he probably would have kicked me out of his office as well. But I'm saying, when you're a storyteller, and Tony's a storyteller, I mean, he almost made me cry when I thought about, wow, I still wait for my father's phone call at 9:30, and he died in 2007. You know what I mean? That's a storyteller. And as creative people, I think that the guys who are looking at, I'm going to become a billionaire type of attitude, they're missing the story. And I mean, I have people with lots of money calling me now with SPACs, and they want to buy sports kits. And I said, sports kits is not for sale, but I'm not just going to sell it for something, because if I sell it prematurely, then it doesn't do its long distance thing. And the thing that I always tell people, some of the richest families in America, while everybody was trying to dig for gold, they were squashing tomatoes and making ketchup. And they own sports teams now. They own entertainment companies. They, offer little catch-ups. Ketchup is never going to go out of style. That's what I tell people. The Heinz family is always going to have money. The Heinz family is always going to have money, because they're doing simple stuff and bringing simple to today's world. Roblox, they got it. There's nobody else going to be like them. $100 million in 1 year in virtual stuff created by their same users. So now they're creating an ecosystem where everybody makes money, but they get really filthy rich. We need more of that, not just one side of stuff like Amazon. And people make money on Amazon, but I don't feel like I'm part of it. My son, when he does Roblox stuff and he sells his virtual whatever he designed in 2 minutes, it doesn't have to be designed. You don't need a creative team. All that stuff that Tony used to work with, that gets slow, and I do all of that. So I mean, for me to call somebody and spend an hour telling them how to do something when I could do it in 30 minutes is kind of, for me, I'd rather just do it.
Yeah.
And let them tweak it. Hey, I like this, tweak it. You know what I'm saying? But it's all at that time now where I think the people who don't have the experience but have the money are going to kind of dominate for a couple of years, and then the people with the experience are going to come back and just shut it down. Kind of like retail and Amazon. Neiman Marcus, they knew retail, but they didn't know the other side of retail.
It's a very big changing paradigm. And with that, Tony, to you, where are you seeing things currently? I mean, you have played the gambit as well in terms of the entertainment side. And now getting into advertising, how have things changed in your view, where we are currently today?
It's interesting. To feed off of what Mark said real quick. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, some, I'll just say elderly white fellows who had a lot of money, and we were pitching investment in our company. And one of the guys looks at me and he said, son, you telling me you want me to give you money so kids can play video games? Because we were looking at a couple teams back then. I'm like, yeah. And he said, and you're telling me that people are going to pay to watch these kids play video games? We said, yes, sir. And he goes, nope, I'm out. We got kicked out of so many funny because nobody, but that's one of the things is just seeing around corners. I agree with the trend thing. It's never good to be a trend person because what's going to be, I grew up in Seattle, so we knew something was happening long before, we could just sense something was different. Right. And it's because, and it's my thing, real quickly, I think there are two paths. There is the mainstream, and then I always believe there's the alt mainstream. And what I mean by that is take what happened with grunge music, right? You had all these different factions that were going on. You had hair metal bands, you had these boy bands with early on, what have you. But then there was this underlying feeling in the country of youth, and these different youth were never heard or spoken for. Look at Hamilton. Hamilton's not for Chicago jazz hands Broadway. What did it bring to the table? It brought 4 different elements that are large on their own that had never been combined in one way. So to me, I always look like what is combining 3 or 4 things. The alt mainstream to me is always much bigger than the mainstream. And once the mainstream figures it out, then it gets there. I mean, look, I was, disappointed to see grunge wear in a Gap store on Fifth Avenue in New York in 1995. I was like, holy shit, really? It's come to this? And then, so in that world, I always look to things that are, I think, 3 to 5 years out. And for us, when we launched the Content Artists, is that we did have an investor who got force majeure. So we were like, holy crap. We had these initial conversations with the NFL and what have you. And we started looking at DOOH because in looking at things, 82% of all screens that humans see before pandemic were outside the home. So we started looking at distribution platforms that we could go where you'd have a captive audience. It wouldn't be, hey, you went, 40,000 cars went by a billboard. That's great. Who gives a shit about that? That doesn't do me any good, right? So we did a lot of due diligence. We found a great company called Octopus, where they are exclusively inside of Lyfts and Ubers. Great team, built by a guy who actually had a company that had to advertise on billboards and buses, and they could never give him. So he did great guy who's just figured, I got to create my own platform. And what I love about this is that, we have like Disney Plus is now on it and what have you. It's data down to, it's top of funnel, bottom funnel. And so exactly, you can actually see where your car is playing what ad when. And it's 100% completion, 100% on the screen all the time. And back to gamification, what we found is that if we gamify something, most of the riders don't understand it's an ad. And the engagement is 2x of the next highest platform, which is IG. And so, and then they also use Google TensorFlow. So it's not a dog or a bagel or something, it's an actual human under all the laws. They use it on all the laws, but it's great. So on the backside of that, on the dashboard, advertisers can say, oh, let's switch our ad. It's going to Madison Square Garden. Now teams are leaving the next game after they lose again. Let's put something else in there, beer or whatever it is. It's really interesting. So that, to me, I'm seeing that as being emerging ways for a lot of people to look, how do I get my message out in a new creative way on the digital and DOOH and OOH? And the response has been, I mean, I can tell you, we're in advanced talks with the NBA, WNBA, MLS, soon to be the NFL, Walmart, and also Zappos. So, and that's really fast. It's happened really, really fast because people really see the value and they can play with the dashboard in real time themselves. And so you get all the information that you need, which is great.
Wow.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying it's just a better spend. It's just a better spending your money instead of just throwing shit against the wall. It's a much better spend.
Well, and with that being said, I mean, where are we seeing the opportunities, right? So where are we seeing opportunities for technology? Where are we seeing opportunities that gaps need to be filled as we come to the lightning round here in just a moment, where technology can really play a role? Jose, let's come to you first. Where are we seeing opportunities and gaps that technology can start filling and then we can be paying attention to as investors?
So I would like to give an example of what we have been doing because I think it's quite new. Okay. So we have been using AI now to develop something which we call it's e-commerce ad-based. Okay, so still today, even if you go to Amazon or let's say traditional marketplaces, you get more or less something that you search for or more or less a presentation, but it's really not interactive. Even if they do an up or down selling, in the whole process, it's really not really interactive. It's something different if you just get an ad, and that ad is something that you really love, and then you click on it. You're not in a shop environment, right? You are either in your social network, what happens, for example, in Facebook, or you can even be in what we call a dynamic marketplace, which is not a shop. Okay, it's just a bunch of ads, right? And you pick an ad out and you follow that ad, right? You can monitor that very well. And based on the clicks that they do in the up and down selling, you can even switch it immediately into something else. So if you see that your customer is running away for some reason, then suddenly, you can do bananas with apples, it can be crazy as you want. Now you can monitor that, you can store that data, okay? And the next time you improve that ratio. So that's something what we are doing because we really believe that you should not be bothered with anything that you don't want, right? You should be getting those stuff that you want. And you can see this typically in a smartphone environment. And I'm trying to go back because I love this part, right? I think everybody forgets that it's not what we want or what we think is important, is what people that consume want to have and what they think it's important. So you must deliver that what they want, not what you want to impose to them. Okay. Now, it's a fact that today we are in the millennial generation, right? And in 5 years, 10 years max from now, they will be the dominant. They already are, but they become really dominant. So why are you developing products and services and systems to offer them if they don't have that mindset? That's the issue. You need to understand what they want, how they think, and how they see things. And that's where I see also in the advertising, the whole stream about their lifestyle. It's about flourishing the lifestyle that they have with those ads that they want to see at that moment and in that particular, let's say, display that you have in front of you. And it can be on social network. It can be, popping up on your smartphone. It can be, any type of environment. You can even walk. I've seen some applications really very, very key. You're walking in a mall, and while you're walking in the mall, that those advertisements start popping up in your smartphone. Okay, you don't need to go into the shop. They know exactly what you want, and it starts popping up, and they will tell you, you know what? If you want to see it, there's three meters in front of you. There's this shop, and this is what you probably want to have. So those things going to start happening, like interaction between real virtual, advertising with AI, okay, and physical world.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jose. And everyone, we're at the top of the hour, close to it. So we're at the lightning round. So each of you, areas of opportunity, then where everyone can find you as well. So Mark, to you, areas of opportunity you're seeing additionally, and then where can everyone find you to continue the conversation online?
Well, I just want to say one thing based on what Jose said real quick. being one of those people that are bleeding to death all the time. In 2012, I went to Barcelona pitching a company that I invested in called OfferBeam, which was a geo-fenced advertising on your smartphone. Everybody said it wasn't going to work. Thank you, Jose. That's why you brought a big smile to my face. I never want to be on another show with Tony. Does way too much more than I do. I thought he was a New Yorker, not from Seattle. But he's a great storyteller because I knew he was talking about grunge once he went into it. And my AR machine is telling me that Gary wants Tony on his show. Am I right? Am I right, Gary?
Oh yeah. We're ready.
I know you want Tony on your show. I got this. And Tony, Gary has a great show. You should be on that show. He had a great piece with Kawasaki on that show. That's great. So no, everything's just coming into play now. But I think Jose says something I don't agree with, because I always look at everything. So right now, the people that are controlling the money are 56 to 82. They've retired or left the NFL, the NBA. They're setting up SPACs, and they're going to buy all these young guys out so that those young guys don't take over their wealth. That's what's happening. That's really what's happening. Tony knows the deal, right? So I mean, with these SPACs, if you can research them online. They're public companies. You can go out and see who's behind them, what their background is. NFL, NBA, entertainment, NBC. They're creating these SPACs that are 400 or 500 million, and these young millennials, all they want to do is ride around in Lamborghinis and Ferraris, so you can go buy them out like Puff Daddy buys artists. You know, he just gives them a gold chain and a Mercedes, and you got them. You control them. That's the game. I mean, I always say the truth. That's why I think they keep inviting me to these shows, because I say what's real. You know, that's the real deal. Follow the money trail. You're going to control the new classes,
right, and
the game stays the same. If you know how to get to the higher level, then you can control it. I think Tony's doing great things. Gary knows the deal, and Jose, he's got it. I mean, I like to see people Jose's age on the show, and I'm probably in the same age range, but the little guys, like anything, man, they're just thinking, you know, I've worked with artists all my life, so I know they're just happy to hold a mic. And then at the end, they want to be the guy in the McDonald's commercial, Jay Byron, whatever. My buddy did that. Right. And I said, I don't like Jay Byron, but it's good. It's cool.
Sorry, Mark, where can everyone, we're almost out of time. So
MarkLugo.com or LinkedIn, or I mean, anywhere. Mark Lugo at Gmail, Mark Lugo at anything. Just put Mark Lugo, but I'm not the guy who stole the Picasso. I always
there you go. And he always tells the truth. So there you go. Gary, to you, quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah. No, so, you know, it's encouraging. There's a great opportunity in entertainment, advertising today that's unprecedented, as I said. So you can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn. My email is gary@gsdvs.com. I'm all over the internet. Just Google Gary Fowler and AI and you'll find me.
If you can't find Gary, we got bigger issues. So definitely reach out. With that, Tony, close us out. Where can everyone find you online? And then any quick closing thoughts?
So real quick, 2009, we have editors at Access Hollywood that do the openings for the Olympics, the beautiful things. Very talented editor. We got together. We developed a thing called Mallville, where you would virtually fly into a mall, and as you flew in, sales would come out, and you'd go in to affiliates. But there was no technology, so we actually had to build it on an Avid machine. Nobody could figure it out. Anyway, back to what I think Gary was saying about 5G. In my business, especially in the film business, this is really going to change, especially with the phone, because now you can run all of what you're shooting at the time on a film or on a set. You don't have to load it in and then truck it or send it or all this other. You can load it in real time. So I think that's going to cut production costs. That's going to cut a lot. It's going to condense the business. And if you look at what Disney just said, is they're now going all in on streaming, massive restructuring. NBC, where I has massive restructuring. So it's streaming, it's video. And it's being able to reach, you know, my business and what I've always done is to showcase opportunity to grab attention. And it's all about storytelling. You can have all kinds of AI and that's all great as well, but have a story within there as well that catches the people. And there's a lot more, but because when you go last, it's hard because you want to unpack everybody's stuff. They all had great points. You're like, shit,
I'm with you. We're going to have you back. Don't worry. We're going to have you back.
So real easy, just you can reach me. I'll give you my private. It's just teapots. You have it, teapots1@mac.com. The content artist is the website, and then just Google me. If you can't find me again, we do have problems.
Wonderful. And yeah, there you go. Jose, just a quick shout out. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
It's Jose Graza. You can find me on LinkedIn and or search for BizMoney, and I will pop up certainly, one way or the other.
Wonderful. Awesome, gentlemen. Well, thank you so very much for joining today. To our audience, if you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today to join our investors. Thank you, Mark, and be able to share your thoughts and insights on various industries, technologies, and regions around the world. And as on entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, we do have a virtual stage here for you at VCTV. We'd love to have you share with us what you're building, your product, your service, your company, have the chance to not only get feedback from us in real time as investors, but also have the chance to build foundational relationships with each of us, because you never know where those can go and where those can lead to the growth and success of your future company. And also a big thank you to the LA Token team and to Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great day. To our audience, again, have a wonderful day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on another edition of VCTV all day, every day this week. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere at Kyle Ellicott.